At National SMSF Conference this year, Tony, on day one we have a plenary session that is about exploring conditions of release and what actually constitutes a condition of release. And many accountants and advisors would have clients come through the door saying, I need some cash, I'm desperate, it's sitting in the super fund, can I have access to it? And what do we say to those particular clients?
Well, really the first cab off the rank is making sure there's no illegal early release. Very unattractive in an SMSF to get that. You're liable, obviously fines and penalties and so on, tax penalties, issues to do with compliance of the fund. So our job is to try and avoid illegal early release. So really what we're talking about, am I retired, have I ceased employment? So they're first things that we might look at depending on a person's age. Then we might look at all of those other rules that allow us to get money out before retirement. So we're talking about foreclosures on a mortgage. We might be looking at medical or dental care or whatever it might be. The government have been doing a review of those rules. Now, of course, there's some doubt as to where that review is at and whether or not it's actually been finalised. It's very easy for things to be announced and then it takes time for reviews to be conducted.
And it's not quite as simple as the administrator signing off on the access any further, is it? It's now
no. So it's now administered through the tax office. That was a recent change.
Yes.
We now apply through MyGov. That's the way things are done now. They then make a decision. We then get a request for money to be withdrawn from the fund. And we've seen an increase of number of people wanting money out for medical reasons, including dentistry. Foreclosures of mortgages during the GFC was a very popular thing, although that has fallen away in the recent past with lower interest rates, although it's still there. So these are the types of things that we need to know about. We need to know the process. We need to make sure we understand those rules so that we don't face any unnecessary issues in relation to, as I said, illegal early release.
And you mentioned, Tony, around the condition of release on retirement. And I think one of the really interesting things that will come out of this particular session is retirement for those who are self-employed. And most people who are self-employed know that it's not quite as simple as a pro forma piece of paper to say that they've actually retired. If you think of the classic scenario of a building company, proprietary limited company, we've got the builder who is employed in that company but are also a director of that company. Is it as simple as signing a piece of paper to say that they've resigned as a director of the company and that triggers our condition of release?
So we've gone to ASIC, we've resigned as a director, so we've done the right thing by the corporation, and then we've written a letter to the trustee saying, I've resigned as a director, I'm no longer satisfied, therefore I'm allowed all my money out. That's a legally complex matter, and obviously pro forma documents don't work in that case.
Exactly.
So we need to talk about the right process to follow there.
Absolutely, and that session will cover all of those things from condition of release in accumulation when we're not close to retirement in terms of all of the medical and financial hardship considerations that Tony's mentioned, and also the condition of release for self-employed people, giving us a bit of a roadmap as to what to do as accountants and advisors, what direction to point the clients into if we have to go to the ATO, for example, and making sure that we can get it right.
Right, so that's a really good plenary session.
Really good plenary session, and it happens to be on day one before the drinks. So I think that's a really good timing for that session as well.